Senator Fedee.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to register my staunch opposition to the imposition of this 2.5% levy increase on a range of commodities that will face local consumers. Mr. President, I staunchly oppose this because of a number of reasons. One, unlike the member opposite who spoke before me and said that this was the ideal time to implement a tax on the backs of citizens of this country that's already reeling against a very high cost of living, as my colleague has so eloquently articulated, the price of bread has gone up before this levy. The price of gas have gone up before this levy. Electricity cost, according to the Economic and Social Review, has gone up on the backs of local consumers by 30%. Honorable member, if there's anybody that's out of touch, you are out of touch with the realities of what's taking place on the ground of this country. And so 30% electricity bill, you believe that that's no big deal for people? When your unemployment rate says that it is 16.5%, when the number of unemployed persons in this country would amount to near 20,000 individuals who don't have work, when at present we're in the low tourism sector where people are losing their jobs because hotels are closing for renovation, where those hotels that have, you don't even know that. Look at, you see, this is what I'm saying. The parliamentary secretary for the Ministry of Tourism don't know that hotels are being closed for renovation. And so he is just compounded, and he is just, oh my goodness. Mr. President, I'm going to speak to you, because one of the things that I suffer, that I find difficult to deal with are people who are unenlightened. Mr. President, there are people who have lost their jobs, hundreds of tourism workers, because hotels are closed for renovation, a fact. Those hotels that have remained open are operating under reduced occupancy levels. It would mean, therefore, Mr. President, that what is going on is that they're getting less pay because they're getting less hours, and they go on the traditional rotation. And so I'm not blaming the government for the rotation or hotel employees getting less hours. I'm not blaming you. But I am saying that all of these factors ought to be considered when you are going to impose a 2.5% tax on the backs of the people. That's what we're saying. So there's no ideal situation that the government can take credit for. The 12.5% growth that we had last year, year before, and the 18% growth that we've had is because the United Workers' Party left a solid foundation for you. Construction and tourism drove the economy recovery that we're seeing since COVID. And so which one of the projects you want to take credit for? Orange Grove Mall? Take credit for Orange Grove Mall. You want to take credit for the road construction projects that have buttressed construction growth in this country and contributed to the economic growth? You want to take credit for the St. Jude's Hospital project? You want to take credit for the Rodney Bay Road, which you stopped? You want to take credit? Which one you want to take credit for? Which one? You have done nothing to get an 18% growth, and you are talking about an 18% growth. But I'll tell you where this administration has gone wrong. Because you see, we always analyze the situation, whether we are economists or we are laymen. We always ensure that we take our time to understand the economic realities. So even though the economy grew by 12% and 18% concurrently in 2 consecutive years, what has happened is that the economy has not returned to COVID-19 levels. And so to say in this honorable house that somehow that the Minister of Finance is such a genius economist that he has considered the economic growth and then has analyzed that we're in the best circumstances economically to impose a tax that is erroneous, and that is SLP economics that hasn't worked ever in this country. Put you to manage the economy. What did you do? Come in 2011, okay? 0% in 2012. Look at the figures. -% economic growth. So while the economic growth, page 90, I think, of the Social Economic Review showed that the economy in 2021 had grown by, just make sure, I give you the right page, page 90, I think it is. Yeah, page 90, right here. So on page 90 of the Social Economic Review, it showed that in 2019, the revised figures for the GDP was $5.547 billion. COVID came, it went down to $4.1 billion. It recovered slightly in 2021 to $4.6 billion. Last year, your preliminary figures showed that it is still below the $5.5 billion. And so while you're going to count double-digit growth, it still has not recovered. People are simply not doing well. Colleague, your point stands. So you can bawl about 18.1%. You have done nothing. You cannot tell me anything. I will sit down. I will yield my time to any member on the other side, Mr. President, to tell me what have they done to inject growth in this economy. They have done nothing but benefit from United Workers' Party projects. And the latest of those projects, and I was very happy to see them sipping champagne at Cabot. I was very happy to see that. I was very happy, a project that you so vehemently criticized, that you went and you were there shamelessly cutting the ribbon and sipping champagne when you misled St. Lucians that this was a bad thing that was happening in the country. And such is the barefacedness of the St. Lucia Labour Party, the duplicity and the double standards with which they come to the Honourable House to pronounce on matters of the economy. If the United Workers' Party gives the people a break on VAT, it's a problem. If they do it, it's okay. If the United Workers' Party imposes a tax that is specific to improve the road infrastructure, to increase productivity, bring convenience for new citizens, it's bad. But I'll tell the member one fundamental difference, because he asked the question about why did we, having reduced VAT, why is it that we had to impose $1.50 an excise tax? Now, let's look at who are the people that would be affected if you put a simple tax on gas. These are people who can buy cars. These are middle-class individuals. These are small business. These are business people, bus drivers. Okay? These are not the poorest of the poor. When you implement this levy, you are affecting vulnerable citizens of this country. That's the fundamental difference. That's what we're trying to tell you here today. So don't confuse the two. Don't confuse the two at all. You have absolutely no authority to stand on. There's no economic reasoning for that. And so I disagree vehemently that this tax, my colleague is right, this is coming at a time when you've already picked up record revenue. The revenue shows that in 2021, estimates, and we are using empirical evidence to back up arguments that we make. We don't just go and pick up some Facebook Labour Party narrative that you go out and you put there so that your supporters can follow, right? We use the stats that you have provided. That's what we've provided. The estimates, you have the social, this is the estimates. And so now, tax revenue in 2021, 2022 showed that there was $951 million. 951, right? In 2022, tax revenue mounted to over $1,073,823,568. Now this means, Mr. President, that there's a difference of $83 million in new taxes that this government has picked up. And it represents the highest tax that any administration has ever picked up in tax revenue. They've had an outstanding performance based on the solid foundation that we've left to them. And you know, the latest excuse I've seen from them was their Minister of Tourism suggesting in the public forum that even though we have lost tremendous airlift, because one of the things that we did with COVID is we ensure that we gave this government a massive amount of airlift, so that people coming from Chicago, people coming from JFK, people coming from New Jersey can get to St. Lucia. And so by creating competition on those routes, what we did was ensure that the competitiveness of the tourism industry, the anchor of the economy, that industry can thrive. And what has happened is that they have squandered the great opportunity. We've lost American Airlines from Chicago. We've lost American from JFK. We have lost JetBlue coming out of Newark, New Jersey airport. We have lost the second Miami flight. We have lost American Airlines from Dallas. You know what I put that down to, Mr. President? You know what I put that down to? I put that down to incompetence on the part of the administration. And so there's nothing you have done. The Social Economic Review clearly states that tourism and construction drove the economy, none of which in those sectors that you have done nothing to stimulate. In fact, if you had not stopped the project, how much better this country would have done. That is the fundamental point. If you had not stopped the projects, and you know, all these allegations, baseless allegations of corruption, where is the evidence? Where are the reports on a serious matter like that? But again, like my colleague said, you are blowing smoke in the people's eyes. You are there to mislead and to politicize every aspect of the management of this country, which is why, you know, I cannot continue. Yeah, because you're great politicians. I give you all that. You're great at politics, and but you're good at politics, but bad at managing and developing the country. That's what you all are. Bad at management and developing of the country, but you all are fantastic politicians. Give you all that. Give the Labour Party a script and a PR campaign. They can manage it well. I concede, yes, of course you all can. You all do it every day, right? But put you all to manage the country. An absolute nightmare, an absolute disaster. Look at the crime situation in this country. Look at crime. And this bill really comes to improve the crime statistics. And I'm going to get to crime. But I'm dealing with the economic circumstances right now. People are bleeding. People are feeling it. People don't have jobs. People don't have new opportunity. There is no escaping from economic growth. My colleague said it this morning. There is no escaping from creating jobs. If you want to increase taxes, you don't have to raise the rate of a tax always. Do your work, grow the economy. Make sure that you grow the economy, and once there's increased economic activity, once you empower more workers of this country, once you create new jobs in this country, the taxes will go up. That is a very, very clear indication that has happened with a growing economy. But you have not ever in your history. You can't take any credit for that. Name me one policy that you have done. Name one project in this country. I'm going to sit and yield. If you can, and I challenge you, anybody on that side, name a major project that you have instituted that can grow economic growth. If you are a man, do it. But none of you can, because you have done nothing. You have really done nothing. And I feel so passionate about this, Mr. President, that I have to spend some time talking about it. The 18% that the Labour Party is applauding itself for comes on the back of the hard work of the last cabinet of which I belong. And I say that unwaveringly, Mr. President. And so, while we have a high inflation rate, and I must say, very, very high, while we have failed to give the people income support, while we have failed to cushion the blow, Mr. President, we come and we impose this tax. People already have to pay a high CIF price. People already have to pay duties, import duties. People already have to pay VAT on some of these issues. And you come with a 2.5% tax again, and you tell us that you care about the people. You simply do not care. So, Mr. President, it's not easy when the Labour Party administration is in power. Mr. President, look, we had a more difficult circumstance with COVID-19. And I remember very well how difficult it was to manage this country with COVID. We saw, and the numbers are here to show, that the economy reduced by 25%. While you are there boasting about 18% growth, COVID decimated this economy with a 25% decline. The revenues of this country declined by 20%. 20%. And it was in those circumstances, all of the things that you say you cannot do, we did it. We did it. We did it. The increases that you're boasting about that you implemented on salaries for the civil servants, who do you think negotiated that? We did it. We did it. The income support that you promised the people and have not paid them, that when they vote for you, because you campaigned on it, and you came into government, and now you deny that you never said it. We did income support for the people in the worst times of this economy. We did it. We did it. We gave electricity support. Electricity support to thousands of St. Lucian families. We did it. Where is your support? Electricity has risen by 30% according to your stats, and you have done nada for the people of this country. And you want to talk about you care? You don't care. We mobilized support for the farmers of this country. We gave seeds and fertilizers. We gave them a guaranteed market. With the economy down by 25%, having lost its fervor. We did it. We didn't talk about it. We did it. We invested in the construction sector. When you told the people that it's not about roads, we ensure that we worked hard, that we mobilized the best talents of the civil service, and we harness the creativity and the ingenuity, and we ensure that the fastest implementation you have seen in public sector projects happened during the COVID time, because we understood the sensitivity of the economy. We gave you all the Millennium Road. Look at the mess you all are creating. Look at the mess you all are creating. Can't manage. Can't manage, and blaming everybody else except your failed management. And you want me to trust you guys? You want me to support your piecemeal measures? Because you're running out of time, and because you have failed to grow the economy. If you had not stopped a lot of the projects, if you had removed your focus from Alan Shastney and Bradley Felix, you could have grown the economy, but your focus is wrong. Everything is about settling political scores rather than dealing with the fundamental issues that bring about opportunity, growth, and relief to the people of this country. And so while the economy, of course, boomed after our investment in it, after our hard work to get it going, you could not keep a pace. And so you have to increase this tax because you're running out of time. You're running out of time. You're running out of time, and you know it. And all around you go. And my good friends say, oh, we are supposed to know best because of 15-2. 15-2, great, my brother, congratulations. But that was a long time ago. That's 2 years ago. Call elections now and see what will happen to you. Call it now. Call elections now. And so, therefore, you're running out of time. So you have to do this. You have to make people feel, let me give you plywood. Because that's for the politics. That's not because you really care. Right? You have to come now and say, well, we're going to do this for you. We're giving the teachers this. We're doing that. We're doing that. Because you're losing time. You have nothing to show. Nothing to show that you have started and finished. And that's the absolute truth with your management of this country. And so, Mr. President, during that time, I want to say to you, Mr. President, with my colleagues on the opposite side as my witness, that we implemented zero taxes on the consumers of this country during the COVID-19 pandemic, with a less than ideal economic circumstance. Zero taxes on the consumers of this country during the management of the economic crisis brought about by COVID. And that is an absolute fact. But what do? You have great taxes, you have a great economic condition, you have the most ideal economic circumstances that the UWP has left for you, and instead of you using that momentum that we have left to continue the growth, what you're going to do is impose a tax on the backs of the workers of this country, and in the same sitting, you're coming here with a bill to give the business people a break on their penalties for VAT? And you want to tell me that you have your priorities right? No, you don't have your priorities right. You don't have your priorities right. When you come with measures like these, and we put it all together in a matrix, we see that you are favoring the businesses today. Today is about big businesses. It is not about the small people of this country. So my colleague is absolutely right. This sitting is not about the have-nots. It's about for the people that already have. And that is the Labour Party. They give with one hand, Mr. President, and then they take with another hand. What's the point? And that is what this today is all about. We give you a VAT relief, but today now we're going to take back what we gave you with the 2.5% increase on so many other commodities. So don't tell me what you give teachers. You give teachers $116 a month. That's what you're talking about. 1,400. You lump it together so it can sound nice, but you forgot to say that 1,400 is not per month. It's annually you're giving the teachers that money. So by the time they buy a couple boxes of crayon, they're broke. They still have to go into their pockets. So who are you fooling with that kind of stuff? Who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? And so, Mr. President, I'm sorry with that. We are not convinced. We are not impressed, Mr. President, that this government knows what it's doing. Now, I want to focus on a bit here, Mr. President, on the national security aspect of this. My colleague has already said that when we look at the budget, we don't see in the projections going forward in the next 12 months, Mr. President, that there is any increase. So the $30 million that the Chamber of Commerce is confused as to whether it's going to the consolidated fund or whether it is going precisely to healthcare, we see where the truth is. Because it begs the question that if at the time of planning the estimates of revenues and expenditures, why is it that we see a decline in the monies allocated for healthcare in this country by $10 million? Why is it that if the government was planning to put this money into healthcare, why do we see not an increase but a decline? So if you are imposing a healthcare tax, explain to me why the cost of healthcare, why your health budget in this book has gone down. And why is the Chamber of Commerce confused about the application of this tax after consulting with the technocrats of this country? What is going on? What is going on? It begs the question, where is the confusion? It reminds me of my colleague earlier, who stated that, if you buy 2 bags of cement, the 12.5% would buy you a third bag. Which really adds up to the Labour Party's math. Your math on the other side never adds up, because you never can calculate and analyze the economic situations of this country in a good way. So the next matter brings me to this, Mr. President. Mr. President, the leader of government business mentioned in his explanation that there are going to be firearms, bulletproof vests, there are going to be upgrades at Bordelais, vehicles, duty-free for SLASPA prison SLASPA officers and prison officers. But all of this would be an exercise in futility if we don't instaure public trust in the police. Public trust in the police. If we don't give the assurance, Mr. President, that when there are complaints against leading members of the police force, that those issues are going to be taken seriously. I want to quote the Prime Minister. This is what he said about this bill when he was presenting it in the lower house. And so the Prime Minister said this, that from the Police Welfare Association, the letter says that there are accusations against a particular gentleman. He went on to say, the letter says that these accusations have been going around for a long time, long before my time. Long before my time, says the Prime Minister. It was there, the letter goes on to say. The Prime Minister went on to say in the Parliament, and the Hansard will show, that these accusations were reported to former commissioners of police. Both of them, or at least one of them, have said he knows nothing about it. At least one has said so. He knows nothing about it, meaning the letters. Then the Prime Minister goes on to say, don't mention any names, not myself to call names in dishonor of the House. But Mr. Speaker, that letter was copied to me. Prime Minister went on to say. I read on. The Prime Minister went on, nobody has sought an audience with me to say to me, Prime Minister, this is the lady who said that these are the days and that's what happened. Nobody. How can I tell an inquiry on nobody? How is it possible? How can I? See? Goes on to say, do an investigation on anybody, Mr. Speaker. On anybody? Exactly. I mean, how exactly? Thank you. How can I do it? So what do I do when I say, have an investigation, all those who want to have been able to come forward? I mean, how can I do that? Have an investigation on nobody? Nobody is coming for why they are freed. Mr. Speaker, I was the one. End of quote. Prime Minister, in response to calls for him to simply, we're not saying that the allegations which are out there concerning leading members of the police force are in fact true. But the allegations have a very serious implication on our ability to create directional and strong leadership in the police force, the supreme organization for law enforcement in this country. When we undermine the public trust, the public confidence, the own female officers themselves, their confidence in the leadership, what we are doing is that we are disrupting the ability of our country to fight this perennial issue of crime. And so I'm going to use my voice in this chamber to call on the Prime Minister to rethink his position on this matter and do something about the letters, the accusations of a very serious matter which have been made. We're not saying that anybody is guilty. We're not saying that the allegations are true. But the allegations have been put in writing from an organization that is as serious and credible as the Police Welfare Association. If it is coming from the Police Welfare Association, the least that any line minister or prime minister of a country can do is at least launch an investigation on these serious allegations. Mr. President, it is my view that we can come here, we can give the police bikes, cars, we can give them all the great things that the leader of government business has said that these monies are going to go to. But if we don't correct that situation where the morale of law enforcement officials are high, that the female officers are going to feel comfortable, that they are going to feel that they have some level of recourse for their grievances. And the grievances that are being referenced here today are very serious grievances. And it's not for me to repeat in this house, but all of St. Lucia know by now what this matter is. And when the head of government is going to respond in this manner, I'll say to you, Mr. President, that it is unfortunate, it is regrettable, and I am very concerned about the impact that this is going to have on our ability to solve the crime situation in this country. And so again, the Labour Party must take responsibility. You are in government now. Stop saying that you have been there for 2 years and you inherited so many problems. When you were campaigning, you told the people that you are able to solve a lot of the problems that the country is facing. They believed you, they voted us out, and they put you in. And now it is your job to stop making excuses and deliver results to the people of St. Lucia. And that is the point that we're making here. So take responsibility. Don't hide behind whether the letters were copied to you or whether the letters were directed to you. You have been made aware of very serious circumstances in the police force, a major organization in this country. That organization is in charge with the very sacred responsibility of keeping all of us safe, of ensuring that lives in this country are safeguarded, to ensure that those who are strong don't take advantage of those who are weak, to ensure that businesses are safe, that workers are safe, that people can go to bed feeling less anxious. I mean, it was just this morning I spoke to a mother in Ancillary, and you know what she told me about the death of her young son? She's unable to go to the post-mortem to identify the body. And so when it affects people in this way, that you have your son who has passed away due to gun violence, and you know you're grieving with such pain that you refuse to go to identify the body, it really gets touching, and it becomes now an issue on the level of humanity that this government needs to stop playing politics with and address these very serious matters as it pertains to the crime situation. Mr. President, I don't need to recite the statistics for you. You know them quite well. But what concerns us is the velocity with which we continue to see young lives. Young lives are being lost almost on a daily basis. I am tired of seeing headlines of bloody weekends. I'm tired of seeing the government behaving as if that it's business as usual. I give this government an F grade, Mr. President, for their handling of the crime situation. The signals they send to criminal elements in this country is the wrong signal. Yeah. Mr. President, it is well documented, Mr. President, some of the brushes that some members of their cabinet has had with the law. And Mr. President, it sends the wrong signal. Their previous positions about those individuals, calling them the most frightening thing to have happened to the politics, and now they've embraced those individuals. What are you trying to tell me, that this is a second chance government that you're running? While the rest of St. Lucia is watching, while the rest of St. Lucia is going through anxiety, where people are choosing not to go to certain public places, where people are choosing in the situation we just had in Viewfort, where they have said, look, some people have decided, even before the schools were closed, that they're not sending their kids because they were afraid of the crime situation, which continues to suffocate this country. And we've got to do something about it. We've got to address it. And when we speak here, we rarely speak in desperation, because in the various levels of consultation, the government don't embrace us, don't give us an opportunity to come and allow us to express their views like we did during COVID when we invite them to those meetings. There are times when a country is going through a very difficult crisis, as we did with COVID, and we had crime to handle as well. But what did we do? The Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security, we held a national crime symposium, and at that crime symposium, we invited the consultation with members, leading members of the opposition, and we gave them a voice. And so it's very easy to accuse us of trying to be political, but the only place is we have an opportunity to vent and let our feelings be known about this and express our concerns are in chambers like these and in the media when we call our press conferences. And so we're not here because we want to politicize crime. We're here because we're very concerned. We have people that are close to us that has suffered from this crime situation. We have people that we care about that are still grieving from the crime situation that's taken hold of our country and taken a toll on the citizens of this country. And so, my God, I beg the government, Mr. President, through you, to don't operate like it's business as usual. Don't operate that everything is okay because it suits your narrative. Face the reality. I'm not saying that we did a fantastic job on crime. No, we didn't either. But the people voted us out. You are in government now. Deal with the matter. Too many people have perished. Too many young lives have perished. I mean, what could have been if some of these young men had survived? What could have been? How many businesses have we lost? How many great scholars have we lost in the process? And you know, a lot of it sometimes are innocent people who have perished in the crossfire of gang rival warfare that's taking place in the country. We saw that not even the tourism sector is being spared from this, where we see that our tourists are being robbed on a daily basis, while the government has actually gone as far as writing to some media establishments to say to those media establishments that you should not mention the name of businesses in the tourism sector. At least one business it has happened to where there has been crime. And I understand that what the government is trying to do is to create the impression that the destination is a safe place to come to. And the government attempted to do so, Mr. President, because of its own understanding and appreciation that if the destination has a bad image about crime, then it is going to, sooner rather than later, impact the crucial tourism sector upon which the economic fortunes of this country is hinged. So I get that and I understand that, but the government has to face up to reality. Stop playing it cool. Let us harness the very best potential of this country, civil society, the private sector. It is time to have a holistic to this situation and stop playing games with this. So, Mr. President, I thank you for your time here today. This matter continues to be an important one upon which we continue to advocate for action to be taken within the police force. So in addition to all of this, in addition to the extra monies that we wanna raise so that they can get bulletproof vests and all of that stuff, that's all great. But there must be confidence and public trust in the police force, and we call and demand for an immediate rescinding of the said position, and we also call for an investigation into the matter. I thank you, Mr. President.